Yes.
The battery technology is changing so fast, and I can't remember what article I read, they're talking about, I think it was M-Phase has a battery that they're putting out right now in a flashlight, but shelf life, you could leave it sit for 20 years, don't turn it on, it works fine. And they say the thing can, hardly ever, you're never gonna have to replace the batteries. So, they're talking about being able to charge a car battery in 10 minutes. So a lot of this is predicated on what has been, and the changes that are coming so fast that.
Yes. So this is something you see a lot in these technology debates, is somebody wants to compare a very mature technology, like the internal combustion engine, that has been around a long time and developed an entire ecosystem around it, right? There are garages that will repair your car, there's quick oil change places, there's gas stations on every corner. They didn't want to compare that and say, well, but your electric car, there's no place you can charge it but your house. Well, not yet. And those batteries, they're outrageously expensive. Well, so far, right? But it's a brand new technology. We expect it to advance at a much more rapid rate. What you don't know going into it is, where does that advancement start petering out and stop? You don't know until you try, right? We wouldn't have the batteries we have today if we didn't have a personal electronic binge, right? Where everybody had a cell phone and a PDA and a camcorder and a digital camera. Those are the things that actually, and laptop computers, those are the things that drove battery technology, and that's how we got lithium, nickel metal hydride and lithium ion batteries were both out of personal electronics, which then got scaled up to drive cars. So when they did the first EVs with the EV1, right, they had lead acid batteries in it, and the mileage and charging was horrible. And then they put in the nickel metal hydrides, which were invented here in Michigan. And they got pretty decent. Well, now we've got the lithium ion, and those are much better. And I see all the tech papers about amazing new breakthroughs, and
Yeah.
I mean, you got to take this with a grain of salt, because 8 out of 10 of them never make it to commercialization, right? But eventually some do, and it makes an enormous difference, right? Which kind of goes to your point about the price tag, right? At these prices, this ain't an answer. The assumption is the prices are going to come way down. And the reliability,
Might
and
answer
the
these
repair infrastructure.
sidewalks in places that don't have sidewalks now, so if you wanted to walk, you could, like just about every city in America, where if you wanted to walk a mile, you'd have to get run over by a semi to do it.
Yes,
And what's the
have a
cost per
personal
mile of
anecdote.
travel for a sidewalk?
I know, there's
How many
maintenance
barrels
involved.
of oil go into the concrete to have a sidewalk?
Actually, quite a bit, making concrete is
Okay,
very
then compare it to your Prius at 150,000 miles and give me an
Well, we're
analysis.
still laying concrete for the cars too, right? It's actually a sizable portion of the CO2 emissions is the roads and the maintenance on the roads to make the concrete, which you have to boil the CO2 out of the limestone at high temperatures. But I digress. To your point about battery technology improving, people said, well, the batteries aren't going to last long enough. So 5 years ago, that was the big argument, right?
Yeah.
And the RAV4 came out, and they had the nickel metal hydride batteries, and they were driving them 150,000 miles, and they were still fine. And that kind of, showed that wasn't true. And we take all these short trips. Half of all the vehicles on the road are traveling less than 20 miles. I mean, just think about your personal driving, right? There's your commute distance, but there's also the drive to the store, the drive to the friend's house. Tend to be very local. And maybe you could ride a bike or walk if there was a place to do
Not
that.
in any city in Michigan, you know.
Tell me about it. First production EV out there, Mitsubishi's EV went for sale in Japan in July of 2009. Allegedly a 100-mile range on a charge, 4.6 million yen, that's about $51,000. Japan has a huge subsidy for buying these. So the cost to the buyer is only $27,000. 16 kilowatt hours of lithium ion batteries. Tax credit in the US is much smaller, but they're not for sale here yet. They did just go on sale in Australia, and they're opening a manufacturing plant in Great Britain to make these. Yeah.
I've got the Transit Connect is coming out with a plug-in battery, when? Next year?
Actually, it's coming out as an all-electric first.
All electric.
Right.
That's by who?
Ford.
That's Ford.
Yeah, the
Transit
little
Connect?
vans.
Transit Connect,
Oh, the
it's,
vans,
it's
yes.
yeah,
It's just a super vehicle.
it's mostly meant for commercial use. Although they try to slate it for family, I don't think I put my family in it. It's just not, it's not pretty for families, but it's great for commercial.
Volt's supposed to be out, it's supposed to be around $40,000, I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, anybody know?
Sometime like 2010.
They had one at U of M Tuesday.
Did they?
So, in conclusion, oil is going to become increasingly scarce. We're going to see prices climb higher and higher. There'll be some wild gyrations, right? Oil went to 147, it dropped down to 33, now it's back at 80. Well, yeah, that's called a recession, as well as a pile of speculators on both sides of that. But that's inevitable. And fuel economy is therefore going to become a great concern. And we're going to see that played up on ads and sales more and more as people go, I can't afford this commute anymore. Which, by the way, is one of the triggers of the housing collapse in California. The first houses that started seeing price reductions in California were the ones the furthest away from the core of the cities. Because the slogan there was, you drive till you can afford the price. Only then the cost of the drive went up and the price of the houses that were far away dropped, and that was actually the trigger, I will not say the cause, but the trigger for the housing crisis that arose. E85% ethanol diesels, hybrid electrics, all become more popular, but it looks like the winning trend here is electrification, from hybrids to plug-in hybrids to EVs, and that of course brings up the question of where's all the electricity come from, and that's a whole other presentation. Today it's coal. And we'll see this evolution of our vehicle fleet, but probably not nearly fast enough. That's a whole other set of analysis. But with that, I'll take questions, and I'm going to stay here as long as people want to stay and ask questions, or till 12:30 when we'll have to get food regardless. But we've got 7 minutes within the time frame here.